Hey, what's up everybody? It's Kellen here from Starter Systems, and welcome to another Monster Energy Supercross, the official motocross video game 2018 custom official-ish track gameplay videos. This is round number 12 at Indianapolis, inside of... Boy, how did that name of the stadium just escape me? I had it on the tip of my tongue and I lost it. Is it Lucas Oil Stadium? I think so. Yeah, that sounds right. Okay, inside of Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, and talk you guys through this track here for a quick second, then break down some of my real-life thoughts and opinions as per usual. Riding the Zoop today for funsies, just trying to get more comfortable with some of the bikes in this game. So one thing you'll notice about this track right off the bat is that back section that I just went through, which is right in front of me right now. That was actually supposed to be like the start straight goes all the way back there, but they don't make like really a long enough start straight for it to work in that ascent. So it kind of has to cut the start straight a little bit short. It's supposed to, here I'll show you when I get there in a second what I mean. The rest of the track is pretty straightforward, and I feel like built for the most part pretty well. I think I could have maybe changed a couple sections to make them work a touch better, but I think it works pretty well for the most part. It's going to be pretty close. What I mean is, so the start straight, it's right there obviously, but it's supposed to go back to here and then go the whole length of the stadium all the way down, excuse me, into the first corner. But this is how this rhythm section is supposed to shape. Yeah, I mean, like I said, the track build itself, the flow of the track and everything is pretty well on the money for what it's supposed to be, but the start straight is in the wrong spot, I guess. That's the one flaw with it. So I apologize for it not being perfect. And I know, roast me for it, whatever. But yeah, this is Indy. This is what it's going to look like. This is going to be the first of two 250 East-West, what were used to be called shootouts are now called showdowns, apparently. 250 East-West Showdown number 1 at Indy, and then obviously Showdown number 2 in Las Vegas. So really we only have 4 rounds in between these two showdowns this year, which is kind of unique. So we'll see the East and the West guys lining up this weekend. It's going to be chaotic. Both of them have their championships kind of pretty close at the moment, so I'm sure there's going to be some probably pretty intense bar banging and whatnot. But let's talk about some recap a little bit first of the St. Louis Supercross, and I will start with 450s because, well, I can pretty much get it out of the way right away. Snooze fest 450s was. Tomac got the whole shot, quadded out of the first rhythm section, and nobody saw him after that. I do think that Anderson maybe had something for him at the beginning, but I also know that Anderson, you know, kind of coming to his smarts at the moment, knows that, you know, this championship is pretty much his, and he doesn't gain anything by going after Eli for the victory there. So I think he contently settled for second, and unfortunately that meant no good battles for us as the fans because the top 100 just separated. I mean, there was really almost no battles going on the whole night long. The one battle that I feel like we ended up seeing was like Reed and Bowers and Freeze and Bloss, I think, all got mixed together, and Reed went down, and I think that Malcolm Stewart came through all those guys. Stewart looked pretty good all day long. He was fastest in the first practice. He was the first guy to bust that quad at the end of the rhythm lane, but he got, I guess, kind of banged up in his heat race crash, and so that kind of sucked. But I feel like Stewart was a little bit more on form than we've seen him most of this year. But yeah, that 450 main event was a snoozer. Tomac got the whole shot and absolutely checked out, which was insane to see. I mean, it's amazing watching him ride and how talented he is, because it's almost like watching James or Ricky or on some of his good days Chad, and definitely like McGrath, like when they would whole shot, pull away, coast it in. Like, they had so much more talent than the rest of the field that they were just able to do that week in and week out. And I feel like that's kind of what Tomac should be doing, but he's always like so up and down, and he has those weird crashes, and I'm not going to get into it again. But I will say that if Tomac is able to win this weekend in Indy, he does actually tie Damon Bradshaw for the most career wins without a Supercross title. Bradshaw sits on 19. He got dangerously close to winning a Supercross title in 1990, I believe it was, and ended up not winning it. And so now Tomac is about to unfortunately have that distinction before the year's over, that he'll be the winningest Supercross rider in history without a title. I think he's still going to get one at some point in his career, but this year it's looking very bleak, and it's pretty likely he wins at least a couple more races before the year is out. So I think he obtains that record, and at the very least you can say he is the one who got the farthest in his career wins-wise before winning a title at this point, because everybody else who's pretty much going to be ahead of him on the wins list after that had already won not just one title, but probably more than one title by the time they reached his mark. The only guy I think ahead of him that probably only had one title by the time he reached the wins that he was at was Stewart, probably, just because Stewart took until 2009 to win his second title, and he started in 05, and he won quite a bit of races in that span. So I feel like by the time it got to the end of 2009, he was already probably like nearly 30 wins deep in his career. So Tomac is going to go almost that far before he gets to one title. But that's just kind of crazy. I don't know. Just kind of a crazy stat. Anyway, wanted to spend most of the video talking about this 250 class because I feel like this whole Forkner-Osborne rivalry is really kind of snowballed into this one side versus the other situation. For the record, I don't necessarily have a favorite in this one. I really actually had Forkner as the champion for the 250 West Series last year. Like, coming into the series, I thought he was going to win that title, and I feel like he kind of underperformed. But I think I'm not sold he is the next thing, but I think that he is a potential, one of the next guys that's going to go to the 450 class and be successful for many years. So I definitely like to see that he's already figuring it out pretty early in his career. It seems like some of these other guys like Savacci and obviously Osborne, Davalos, all those guys, Savacci's like 6-7 years into his career. Davalos is 13 years, and Forkner's only on his second full season of Supercross and making a title bid here. But I will say that I think he has still just a little bit of learning to do, and I think he knows that. But it doesn't make me dislike the kid. I think that there's a lot of good things going on with him. I think he's got his career maybe going in the right direction, and I'm excited to see where it goes. And as for Osborne, I'm so shocked, I guess, to see how many people dislike him. I'm not like an Osborne bandwagon guy or anything crazy like that, but I am maybe a little bit more biased towards him just for the fact that I'm a huge MXGP nut, and I have been for probably a good more than half of my life. So I've followed Osborne's career like all the way through, when he started in the USA and had to give it up and then go to Europe and rebuild his career and then come back over here and still struggled to win until his nearly 50th start, and then now he's finally in this situation where he's basically the fastest 250 rider in the class right now. It's been a struggle for him to get there. So for that whole process, I really do like Osborne, but I'm not like totally favoriting him or anything in this championship. So I just wanted to clear that up before people say I'm defending Osborne to the death in the Forkner situation. I really thought the Forkner-Osborne crash at Atlanta was more racing than anything else. I did say it was Forkner's fault, but I don't blame him for it happening. It was a racing move, and it's his fault, but it's an accident. It happens, and live and learn. But as for this weekend, it really looked like we were going to reach a boiling point with them. They've been trading blows. Obviously, there's the whole drama in Atlanta. And then they end up 1-2, wouldn't you know it, at the front of the field here this weekend in St. Louis. Osborne, for what it's worth, was catching him. And I think Forkner knew he had to either pick up the pace or just go in full defense mode. And I think for a couple laps he did actually pick the pace up. but Osborne could just match it, reel him in. He had a line where he's jumping through the whoops, was reeling him in there. And then Forkner started getting that pressure from behind, and then it just, to me, seemed like he went a little bit kind of like mental lapse mode a little bit. I wouldn't say that his crash was a whole like mental misjudgment or anything. I think he just got kind of untimely kicked, but I think by the time Osborne got to him, Forkner was already getting flustered. Like, it looked like he was having a tough time navigating through lappers and stuff like that. And then, yeah, he had his crash, which thank heavens that not only did he not get hurt from that, but that Osborne wasn't more committed. Because if you watch the replay of it, it looked like Osborne was going to tuck down the inside right behind him, and then saw that he was starting a yard sale, and Osborne, you know, wisely came to like a near stop to avoid running him over, or else that could have been bad too. So thankful that that didn't turn out worse, but sucks obviously to see that that battle was going to look like it was going to be pretty good, and then Forkner crashed it away. So that sucks, but I did personally feel that Osborne was going to win that race regardless. It just seemed like he was able to reel in Forkner at will a little bit towards the middle of that race. The only thing that I think would have changed my mind about Osborne winning would have been if Forkner put him down, which very likely could have happened, but I just didn't think it would get to that point with those two. And unfortunately, we saw Forkner crash. So what that did is put Osborne way out front. Jeremy Martin, who's having suddenly a really good kind of 250 Supercross season out of nowhere, in second. Jordan Smith up to third. I believe Peters moved to fourth, and then I thought there was one person in front of Forkner. No, he did get up fifth. So then Forkner's in fifth. Can't really catch up to Peters. Like, it seemed like he was reeling him in a touch, but then started losing ground. And then everybody's going through the lappers, obviously, and then we get to Rambler Alves, which is the guy that everybody's kind of been talking about since this incident happened. It was something about St. Louis and blue flags, right? No, Alves, from what I saw, was getting the blue flag for Peters, moved over for Peters, and then I see some people defending him, saying he didn't get the blue flag after that, and maybe he thought whoever was behind him was for position. But I think that these guys are maybe a little bit smarter than that. And I did actually watch some of the video back, and he did at one point get a blue flag again. But I think maybe at that point he probably wasn't looking at it. But anyway. So then Forkner gets up behind him. Obviously, Forkner's kind of a little bit probably mad at himself and a little flustered and can't get around Alves, and then tries to send it down the inside of the whoops. And this is where I tend to disagree with anybody defending Alves, because what I thought was weird about this whole instance is Forkner's coming down the inside and Alves goes for like a hard chop, and that makes me really think he thought it was for position, but it also makes it completely in the wrong. Like, he has to have a little bit more situational awareness of who's behind him and who's coming down the inside, because he gave Forkner almost nowhere to go, and Forkner was kind of already out of control a little bit in the whoops anyway, but he totally just crossed down on Forkner, and like, I thought that that was kind of a lame move, to be honest with you. Like, you know, I know people are bad lappers, but that was almost to the point where it looked intentional. And that's what I mean, is that I'm defending him a little bit here. I think he thought it was for position and it was somebody else, but again, you have to have better situational awareness in that situation. And unfortunately, a bit Forkner, again, he went down. Again, fortunately, he didn't get hurt from the crash, because he definitely could have with the way that he fell, but he did not. And then got up and went over the triple and waved his hand at Alves going over the triple. And he was pissed, and, you know, rightfully so, but I think this is what I mean by his immaturity showing a little bit, because after the race, so he got passed by Hart Ramped, and then he like kind of like did like one of those Jason Lawrence-esque block passes back on Hart Ramped. Like, you can't really see it on the TV broadcast because of how far in the background it is, but if you watch it, like, Hart Ramped comes to a near stop in the corner to try to not get taken out by Forkner, and Forkner comes to a stop too and like looks back at him. It's kind of a weird little pass, but anyway, gets around him, finishes fifth, and then immediately goes after Alves after the race starts, yelling at him. His mechanics, Alves' mechanic is yelling back. back and forth and blah, 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 blah. Like, I get it, emotions run high, but like that just to me like threw me back to when David Villeman and Roncada were going back and forth in 2002, and Villeman freaked out and started slapping Roncada in the helmet and all this stuff like that. Like, just doesn't look very, like, I just don't think it looks very cool. Like, I can understand if he went over there and like tried to like just talk to Alves, but you could clearly see that he was just like screaming at him, and then once he made a couple loud noises, he just started backing away. I don't know. I think in that situation, it looked a little like Barsha-esque on Lance Vincent too. It is what it is. Tempers run high. He's trying to win a championship. I get it. I'm not saying he's an idiot for doing it, but I think that's just a touch of his immaturity. And he's even posted such since on Instagram saying, like, you know, tempers run high, championship, blah, blah, blah. So, again, live and learn. I think that, if anything, if Forkner doesn't win the title this year, which he certainly still could, but if he doesn't, this is going to be a really good, in my opinion, learning experience for him to, like, go through this whole championship dynamic against an experienced veteran at this point like Zach Osborne is. So I think if anything, this whole situation is just making Forkner a better rider. At least that's what I'm thinking. So whether or not he wins this title, I think that this is only a good thing for Forkner at the moment, but I do hope that he keeps this thing close, because it seems like those two have a good rivalry going on. I know that the PC team isn't a huge fan of Zach Osborne. So yeah, I hope it kind of flares up, and that's going to lead us into this weekend, the 250 East-West Showdown, with the West guys coming in, and they're in the midst of their title fight, you know, with Savacci and Plessinger, and Cianciarulo is still fairly close, and McElrath, I think, is still pretty close to there as well. So those guys are all still kind of fighting each other off a little bit and trying to win a championship there, and then they're getting right into this mix of Jordan Smith, Austin Forkner, Zach Osborne. There's like 7 or 8 guys that probably are coming into this weekend thinking, like, I could make humongous points towards this championship hunt. And who knows, this could be wild. I mean, this could be the end of somebody's championship hopes this weekend, honestly, with how open-ended this whole format is, and you never know. First time we've seen an East-West shootout on the East Coast and not in Las Vegas since the early-ish 90s, I think, was the last time we saw it. So I'm excited for that. I'm really excited for the Indy Supercross as a whole. I feel like Indy always has some pretty unique-ish races. And I think that this track is pretty good for racing as well. I think it's got some good lanes back and forth, some different rhythm mixes. That weird first corner hopefully doesn't get people taken out too bad. And yeah, you can definitely go ahead and head over on PC. This is SYS_IndySX 2018 on the PC. If you want to try it out for yourself, more than welcome to, obviously. A little update for anybody that plays on PS4. Can't promise this on Xbox One, but I do have a little bit of free time coming up in the next couple of weeks here, and I actually do plan on recreating a lot of these tracks that I've made in PC for Monster Energy Supercross onto the PS4. So I've had some people ask, are you going to make these for console? And the answer is yes, I plan on it. I hope it won't take as long as it might, but that's the plan, is to try to port these over on the console. If anything, just basically sit here and replicate them piece by piece, and you guys are able to play them on at least PS4. And yeah, so sit tight. We'll hopefully have those tracks soon. And thank you guys for watching another video here on the channel. Of course, I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions anytime you want to offer them on the racing last weekend at St. Louis, what you think is happening this weekend, my thoughts and opinions on the Osborne-Forkner deal. Yeah, anything. Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And thanks for watching another video here on SYS. I'll see you guys in the next one.